Welcome to This Just In, the show bringing you the latest advancements in healthcare, strategy, innovation, and public policy. And now, for the fastest voice in healthcare, here's your host, Justin Barnes.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the special edition of This Just In Radio. I'm your host, Justin Barnes. Today, we're broadcasting live from HIMSS25 in sunny Las Vegas. Very excited to be here. It's already been an action-packed 72 hours. The HIMSS annual conference is always a centerpiece of my annual schedule, and this happens to be my 25th HIMSS annual conference and my 11th year broadcasting from the annual conference, which leads us to today. This is the start of 3 days, 5 shows, and over 40 guests here in Las Vegas for HIMSS25. We have our best lineup yet of CEOs, CIOs, CTOs, care providers, researchers, policy leaders, and visionaries joining the show. As many of you know, my goal for broadcasting live each year from these key conferences is to create an information medium that shares best practices, key strategies, and actionable intelligence from the industry's leading sources and experts. My objective, along with all my guests here, will be to offer tactics and strategies to not only survive, but to thrive as you navigate your hospital, your physician practice, your company, or even your family through all these changes occurring across healthcare today. There is more opportunity than ever before for all of us to thrive, but we must understand how healthcare is evolving, how policy and reimbursement is shifting, and where best practices and innovation can support our efforts. I hope you glean all of this over the next few days. That's at least my goal. Welcome back to This Just In Radio Show, broadcasting live from HIMSS25 in sunny Las Vegas. I'm very excited to introduce my next guest, great friend of the show, great friend of mine personally, Matt Ethington, co-founder and CEO of ChronicCareIQ. A big welcome back to the show, my good friend.
Thank you, Justin. It's always good to see you.
It's always great to see you, my brother. I assume it's been when did you get in town? A few good days for you here?
I got in yesterday morning. Okay. So got to navigate, look around a little bit, have some fun, and up and at 'em early.
Yes.
Since we're on East Coast time.
Yes. I know. Actually, I have to force myself to sleep in because if not, because my days go until midnight or so, and if I don't sleep in a little bit, well, we sleep until 7. I mean, because normally we're up at 5. When we're out here, we're up at, you were up at 4:30, 5 o'clock.
It was different when I was 20.
Exactly. Yeah, much different. Much different. Well, thank you for joining us, and thank you for making time to join the show. What progress are you most excited about seeing in the industry today?
I would say that we've reached a true inflection point around chronic care management. We're seeing new care models. We're seeing existing organizations interested in doing more about proactive outreach to patients. We're seeing new technologies that make it easy for even doctors in small practices to build robust care management and proactive healthcare plans. So I'm super excited. There's more than 30 reimbursements now that pay doctors to keep extra tabs on these high-risk patients. So it's all happening, and there's just tangible evidence everywhere, and that's what I'm most excited about.
Well, the reason I was so excited when you agreed to come on the show, you live and breathe this on a daily basis. The amount of wisdom and knowledge that you have locked in your head about what's working out there, what's not, why doctors should do this, why it's great for the patient. You're also a patient yourself. So give me 30 seconds on kind of you as a patient and how you became a patient through some of your own personal care issues.
Yeah, so I learned in the emergency room at the age of 30 that I had type 1 diabetes. The doctors told, that's the kind where you have to give yourself shots. A little bit of unusual age for that type of patient. And I went home from the hospital with 2 prescriptions and a pep talk. Right? And I've got to poke 8 holes in myself every day. And it was very unsettling and with the instructions to find a doctor. Right. So I learned on my own, even as a young, savvy, certainly willing to work person, it's kind of hard to navigate healthcare. Right. So I became patient or passionate about giving people better ways to interact with providers so that they could get better care.
Yep. Yeah, I love it. And that was a precipice for ChronicCareIQ. I mean, really, you were an entrepreneur before that, had an EHR company. That's kind of where ChronicCareIQ came from, correct?
It is. Yeah, it absolutely is. It's really hard to be sick. Yeah. And you don't want to be a bother to the doctor. You don't want to be a bother to your family. You don't want to terrorize people. Like if they think you're worried, they'll be extra worried. And it's just something everybody has to deal with. alone. And it's really, what really helps is knowing that your doctor has your back.
Right.
But it's kind of difficult in today's care where they got to see 30, 40 patients a day and just keep things moving to keep the lights on.
Grind,
so building these models to increase communication at scale is really what I wanted to do.
Love it, love it. So what are you working on currently that you're most passionate about?
So the company is growing, as I told you, so that's really exciting, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So we're going to rinse, wash, repeat, move into the enterprise over on that side. We have several initiatives. But I think really what I'm really excited about this year is getting all of these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of practices that we have speaking openly about their challenges, their successes. Each practice is a little bit different, right? They're their own ecosystems, and we have everything from a solo doctor in Friend, Nebraska, taking care of rural patients, to some of the bigger names in healthcare. And so we want to get the stories out there. Hey, what were your challenges? What was this? How did you accomplish this? And I want to really bring together a community where the people that are thinking about providing care management services can hear it straight from the other administrators, nurses, and doctors that are doing it, so that they can have that trust and learn what the best steps are towards success. Not hear it from a salesperson, but hear it from the community itself.
Right. That doesn't exist today, so that you're bringing that to bear is significant. So much opportunity, and again, providers want to learn from providers, administrators want to learn from administrators. They're going to have all those blueprints for success. They're going to have all those best practices, those key strategies, which is exactly how I built my radio show initially. And so the fact that you're bringing that is fantastic. So I look forward to hearing much more about that as you develop and as you roll this out. So what are some of your goals for HIMSS25? And you've been coming here I think this is actually my 25th HIMSS. But you actually, you've been out to a lot of HIMSS yourself.
I have.
So what are your goals for the next couple of days here?
So, so we're meeting with partners like said that use our platform to provide that outreach. So obviously do some of that, but I love hearing what the thought leaders are doing. Right. Anish was just on the show. His presentation yesterday was amazing. And so, what are people thinking about? There's so many super hot issues going on right now. So it's talking to other folks. What challenges are they facing? How are they addressing them? Super hot right now is AI.
Yes.
What does that mean? So it's literally meeting with others, getting ideas from others, sharing ideas with others. HIMSS has really been the place to do that for 2 decades. It has, and this is great. I mean, I think we're 35,000 of our closest friends are here, or 30,000 at least, and it's exciting to be to learn, to collaborate, to look for new partners, and then also how can we solve problems more quickly. I think that's what Nish brought that up. Actually, every guest before you even brought up the importance of partnerships and tackling all these things together, these problems together, because we can do it together much more quickly, much more efficiently. So I know that's your strategy also at ChronicCareIQ. So yes, absolutely, love it. Absolutely. And you, Fahad's here with you. I saw you, Fahad too. He is. Is he here? Well, he's somewhere on the floor. He's no doubt solving. He's one of the nicest men you'll ever meet in healthcare. He's been a game changer for our organization. Everybody loves him, and he's here. How's our friend Eric doing as well? We love Eric. Eric is a machine. He's your co-founder, CTO. Yeah. It's the business is growing so fast now that it's some days you're crying happy tears, or you're just like, oh my gosh. So I get it. He's an exceptional thinker himself. He's an exceptional human being, and he's doing great. He is awesome. Eschenbach's amazing. One thing I always love in my conversations with you, and certainly also I've been fortunate enough to talk to some of your customers as well. What would you say to an organization? Because a lot of people still, all the ROI is blatant with chronic care management, and certainly with a lot of your customers, what you guys publish. What are some of the best practices or advice that you would give to somebody who's looking at it, and the why? Because obviously you have so much again in your head and what you've learned from your customers, even your personal engagements. But what would you say to somebody who's thinking about doing chronic care management, and what's a good first step? Dip the toe in the water type of thing. So I think number one, the first step is to realize that it's not just a reimbursement, and it's not just a box you check, right? So chronic care management is known for being a 20-minute code. If you get 20 minutes of non-face-to-face with the time, that doesn't mean 20 minutes on the phone. That could be refills, it could be pre-certs, it could be monitoring the patient. It doesn't just it doesn't just start there. It ends with the reimbursement, right? You have to engage patients. You have to keep patients engaged. It's an optional code. And if they're not intrigued and they're not engaged and they're not willing to do this, there's no return for them. They won't stay. You won't be able to build a second successful program. And then there's 30 different reimbursement codes. You have to know how to drop those into what buckets, and you're not going to be able to do it on your own without technology.
Right.
The third is, how do you get information that's valuable to the doctors and nurses? Because it has to work for patients, it has to work for doctors and nurses, and it can't present another problem in an administrator's day. And the patients have to see enough value that they'll pay the copay.
Right.
So research, it's not just, hey, I'm going to monitor patients and make a bunch of money. It's I'm going to build a robust system to keep patients engaged and plugged in to the practice, so we know when they need help.
Yeah, and talking about some research, I was doing some research about your company and some of your practices. You have an 87% on average, an 87% engagement rate, patient engagement rate with your patients. Your practices do. That's amazing. 87%.
87 to 93% of patients engage weekly.
That's significant.
It is. Well,
that's
if you were really sick, and you just had to answer a few quick questions like, Mr. Ethington, are you short of breath today?
Yeah.
Is it better or worse than it was yesterday?
Yeah.
When was the last time you were dizzy when you stood up?
Yeah.
That's not difficult, right? When you make things
you
easy
created,
for
obviously,
patients.
you've done that. You've created those successful protocols. You found the secret sauce there.
Yes.
You've done a great job. Yeah.
It's always, and we don't try to layer this onto patients that just barely meet the qualifications for getting paid, right?
Yeah.
It's the goal is to help chronic patients that need help. It's not just to bill another charge.
Yeah.
And so those patients that do need help, they respond really well.
Yeah. Well, congratulations there, because being in this industry for so long that I have, and to see that kind of success, 87 and 93%, that's significant. Kudos to you and your team. Looking into the proverbial crystal ball, what would you see as a strategy, a trend that we need to be ready to navigate in 2 to 3 years from now? Yeah,
so I'll answer that question by recognizing the biggest problem in healthcare, which is chronic disease.
Absolutely.
Right? 99% of the checks that Medicare writes are on behalf of patients with chronic disease, and it represents 93% of the total. If you're going to solve that problem, you have to interface with the patients directly, so personalized care around those patients. How do we do that at scale, which means autonomous patient engagement, reliable patient engagement, being able to separate what's important, what's not important based on that engagement, and getting to the right patient at the right time. I've said it for a decade. It's not a chronic care problem. It's a chronic communication problem, and that's going to get solved with patient engagement.
Yeah, I love it. Congratulations. What would you say as, what's the biggest thing that you want to accomplish this year? Personally. Or no, but personally, professionally, balancing the worlds that you live in there.
So we have 2 goals within the company. So personally, I really want to create an infrastructure where nurses, doctors, administrators can go and learn from one another, right? So
that's awesome.
Because I set out to change how healthcare was delivered.
Well, you're going to do it.
I've poked over 30,000 holes in myself to stay alive. Right. So patients have the need, and just being able to show these people that it doesn't have to be intimidating. It's not a huge risk. You just need to know what you're doing, and creating an environment where people can learn from one another. That's a personal and professional goal. Professionally in the business, we're now moving into much bigger size integrated care delivery networks and things like that, and making it all work at the 5,000 doctor level, not just the 50 doctor level.
Yeah. Congratulations, Matt Ethington. Keep up the fantastic work. You're very inspiring. Love what you do, and look forward to seeing you soon, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you, Justin.
Great shot.
Cheers.
Thank you. Welcome back to This Justin Radio Show, broadcasting live from HIMSS25 in sunny Las Vegas. I'm very excited to introduce my next guest and great friend of the show, Didi Davis, Vice President, Informatics, Conformance, and Interoperability with the lovely Sequoia Project. Welcome back to the show, Didi.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure to be here, and I'm happy to have you, helping me spread some word.
You got it. I love what you work on, love what you do, love what you accomplish, and what you're all about. So before we dive into the questions, I assume it's been an amazing few days for you here in Las Vegas?
Yes, it has.
When did you get in town?
Monday.
Yeah.
Good
for you.
I leave today.
Okay.
So it's been exciting. It's been a good show. There's been a lot of good networking. There's some things that could be done better. I'm not going to say, but overall, I have had a good experience.
Good. I got in on Sunday and leave tomorrow. I've 5 nights and 6 days in Vegas. Never before in my life have I done that.
Oh my.
But I've been good. I've been 8 hours of sleep a night. Everything's been great.
Good. You're keeping a balance, right?
I'm healthy balance. Yes. So I guess I love what you've been working on interoperability for a long time. You're like an interoperability queen. So what progress are you most excited about seeing in the industry today?
Well, me with my passion. I think the last time I spoke to you, I talked about our data usability work.
Absolutely.
The Sequoia Project has Interoperability Matters. And under that Interoperability Matters initiative, there are 9 work groups. The most recent one's pharmacy as an example. But we've been using data usability work group since 2020. Our board really prioritized improving the quality and usability, because if you don't do that, none of the health IT systems that we're actually deploying.
I was on the board at that time. I was in the 2021 and 2022. Yeah.
So quite frankly, I'm excited to continue that work. We just released version 2 of our implementation guide in December, so it's hot off the press. And I've been trying to help amplify and show, here's the next step, the next horizon and baby step you need to start looking at.
I love it. And how's Marian Yeager doing?
She is fabulous. She flew home yesterday, but she was here.
She was here. I missed her. Oh,
you did. You missed her. She flew home yesterday, but she had meetings back to back every day, like we all do.
Excellent. So what do you think is the most exciting thing, not necessarily in interoperability today? Because I brought it up on air yesterday on one of the other shows, saying we don't talk about interoperability enough. I think we have great progress. We have nowhere near where we need to be. We also need to keep interoperability in the forefront of everything that we do, everything we think about. What would you say to that? And what can we do a better job at focusing on as an industry? Because in AI, it needs to be interoperability, because as I said, you can even hit the promise of AI without interoperability.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
So I think of it as usability in all projects. So to your point, that interoperability, usability, data quality, we need to think about that every time we deploy a system. And if we work with the clinicians, ask them, what can we do to improve this for you?
Right.
And ask the questions and actually help make that change happen. Because believe it or not, most of these systems have been certified to do many things.
Right.
But they were all slammed in with the old meaningful use dollars.
Yeah.
Have they been touched since then?
Right.
Laboratory information, for instance.
Yeah.
Things are still working the way they were, and there's so many things that could be improved by taking advantage of the new US CDI version 3 requirements, things like that. So
I love it. So I think you touched on a little bit there, but what are you currently working on that you're most passionate about?
The laboratory. So I'll get into that a little bit more. So in our version 2, we added guidance not only from version 1, raising the bar to US CDI v3, but we added how receiving systems receive data. Not just how you send it, but how you receive it. We added technology agnostic guidance to include for HL7 Fire, the new shiny, HL7 V2, believe it or not, because of the lab. That's how data is exchanged today. It's not in CDA documents and things like that. So the laboratory piece, we convened a tiger team the last 2 years to actually, what is that little baby step that we could do an implementation on within an 18-month timeline? And we had a lot of great guidance, and we put it out. So I'm really excited to see what that can do, because if we don't start attacking that, labs are used for all diagnostics.
Absolutely.
My dad just got discharged out of a hospital, and all the labs are very important to keeping him healthy. So we need to work on that.
No, I love it. I think actually my friend Mark Dorner has a company, Precise MDX, and they had questions about lab interoperability a couple years ago, and I reached out to you because and now I'm so happy it's been a big focus. Yeah,
version 1 we had an appendix saying we're going to do it. What should we do? This version we actually put some testable guidance in there.
Beautiful. I'm gonna tell him that.
Awesome.
So I know we're almost all the way through the conference. So I would say, what were some of your goals for being here, and what did you accomplish while you've been here in Vegas?
Well, we've been doing a lot more work internationally. So a lot of my meetings, believe it or not, were sharing lessons learned with the international community.
Good.
While we were a little bit hampered in what we could speak about because some of our government contracts, we didn't let that stop us. We actually were able to double down and talk about our network care quality that we launched in 2014. 51 networks connected, exchanging 1 billion with a B clinical documents every month.
Wow. That's impressive.
Those are things that are still happening. Don't lose sight of that.
Yep.
Even with this new framework that's coming, it's going to take time to get there. So I'm excited to hopefully see where the industry continues. And I know change is happening, so we'll roll with it as we go.
Yeah, and I think using that, I think that's been a little bit of a theme. We have a lot of change coming in healthcare, but all my thought leader friends have said, let's use that as an opportunity for good. Let's use it as an opportunity to innovate, become much more, use standards when we can, use partnerships where we can, leverage what we have. Don't go create, and even my last guest brought up, or two guests ago, brought up how even some of this free money that was floating around was propping up archaic infrastructures.
Right. Absolutely.
So the money's not going to be as readily available. Let's leverage standards and innovation. And
let's let the industry innovate.
There you go.
You know?
Yeah. So let's look at the positive side of a lot of these changes coming along. When do you leave? Do you leave town this
afternoon? I'm headed back. Yeah, I get home. It's not a red eye, but I don't get home until 11 o'clock tonight.
Yeah, good for you. So. And you're going back to Tennessee?
Knoxville, where I'm born and raised.
Yes, the lovely state of Tennessee, the great town of Knoxville. I know it's a city, but I always say town.
It is, and I'm
Knox Vegas. I call it Knox Vegas, actually.
I'm proud of it. Is. If you think about Gatlinburg and all of that, it is very much like that.
Yeah, Knox Vegas. Love it, love it, love it. Looking into the proverbial crystal ball, what do you see as a trend or a strategy that we need to be ready to navigate in 2 to 3 years from now?
Oh, well, I think if you think about, we need to continue aligning the policies with those technical requirements. You touched on it with the standards.
Yes, absolutely.
We need to make sure we don't upend the train that's on the track working well. Let's stay the status quo and continue innovating. Mm-hmm. But in 3 to 5 years, what I'm hoping is that we will have better data alignment with all of the requirements. Hopefully we'll incentivize them with policies. We'll see, like CMS, the 0057, the HTI 1 and 2 and 3. We need more of that because, believe it or not, industry, while they have done a lot of this, we need to push it a little faster.
Right.
So I'm hoping in the next 2 or 3 years we get some of that alignment and we don't disrupt all the work that has been started and continue on the path. But I'm hopeful that because we've already brought this together, that we continue improving trust so that we expand beyond exchange of treatment of data with payers, public health, the patient or the caregiver themselves.
So we have a little bit of time. So dive in. Being a payer and being a patient, where can they go to learn more and maybe embody some of that or embrace some of that? Well,
of course, I'm going to plug Sequoia Project.
Sure, please do.
We are a nonprofit.
You guys are phenomenal.
And we have the Interoperability Matters Initiative. It is open. The data usability is open to anyone. You don't have to have a membership for that. But the other work groups, we have a pharmacy. We have a payer-to-payer API work group, which is focused on the policy. Working with HL7, like their Da Vinci Accelerator. We're collaborating with the standards organization. We just launched the pharmacy with SureScripts and CPDP.
Good.
We had a reception just here where all the leadership got together. So I'm excited to see some of the new collaboration, and I would welcome any organization to join Sequoia Project and follow the work along. If it's something that you are a payer, join the payer-to-payer API work group. If you're a pharmacist, join the pharmacy. There's a public health work group. There's a privacy and consent work group. And guess what? That's a new tangly mess that we're in right now. So help us figure out what are those incremental baby steps. I like to use that word.
Absolutely, it's important.
To actually make change happen in just steps. It may not solve world hunger overnight, but let's see how we can develop an incremental step.
Love it. It's just the right thing to do. And at the end of the day, we do all of this for patients, for better patient care.
Absolutely.
And at the end of the day, this all brings us, because everybody wants access to the medical information. They want, and all of the promise that we talk about of AI and all this kind of stuff for the future, again, goes on the backbone of this data and this data transmission and data sharing, because you're not going to be able to have a longitudinal medical record without data flowing.
Absolutely. And I'll digress for a second.
Please.
Caregiver taking care of a father who's just been in 2 different hospital stays, one in January. He just got discharged last Saturday. He's back at home. He fell again yesterday. And trying to take care of him as a patient and doing the right thing is very difficult. And without the right information for me to be able to help make those decisions is not helpful. So we're trying to also figure out how we can engage that patient. My father, who's 80, is not going to look at his web portal, but you better bet I'm looking at it every day so I can see what's happening.
You got it. So shifting gears a little bit, COVID clinical research in Swiss standards. I was part of a dinner Monday evening with AWS, and we had all a bunch of organizations and research organizations in the room, and they talk about using FHIR as a standard. Talk a little bit about that. I mean, 'cause again, I'm newer to the clinical research side. I've been trying to help a little bit in some areas, but please tell me.
I promise we didn't prep this ahead of time, but you just threw me a wonderful softball here.
Good.
So we are actually in discussions with multiple groups to think about launching that clinical research. Mm-hmm. So these frameworks, one that I can't mention, but like Care Equality, they don't have research as a designated purpose of use.
Right.
It's not trusted yet, all right? Because it's secondary use of data. And even me as a patient, it's a little leery, I am not opting into certain things because I don't want that shared without knowing how it's shared.
Right.
So we are looking at trying to get ahead of it for the first time and try to get it before it's regulated and required. So the clinical research piece of it, we're trying to work with accelerators are doing M-code for cancer research.
Yes.
We're working with folks in networks trying to set up some pilots for exchanging this. There's one network that's exchanging that type of information today to the FDA for their biologics and doing some of that. So there's some little pockets starting, but before it starts getting too out of hand and too ubiquitous, we want to make sure everybody is keeping it trusted and that we can, when we exchange it, everyone knows how it's exchanged.
You got it. The standards. Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Well, Didi, thank you so much for being on here. You're always lovely. It's great to get to hug from you. And I hope you have a great rest of your conference.
Thank you for having me. And again, I hope you have safe travels home as well.
Same to you. And we'll absolutely have you back. This has become an annual tradition, an annual fun aspect of my life. So
I love it.
Yeah.
You're a friend of mine always. And I'm happy to see you and collect my hug.
You'll get another one on the way out of town here right now.
Sounds
Thank you so
good.
much. Thanks, Didi.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Justin.
your time. Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye. That's a wrap from Las Vegas and HIMSS25. Thank you all for listening. Thanks to everyone who voted us 2024 Healthcare Podcast of the Year. Thank you so much, Roberta Mullen, Greg Masters, Carol Flagg, and the entire crew at the Healthcare Now Radio Network. They've also been producing my show for 11 years, and it's a true blessing to be able to do this every single year. Also, a special note of thanks to Jake Reed, my head of media. Jake did a phenomenal job managing our remote broadcast while here at HIMSS25. And many thanks to all of my show partners, AMD and AWS, and also a shout out to Medallion here who gave me water for my shows, certainly my lasting shows. So thank you very much. And then also Bright Hour has a foundation that I want to make a special shout out to. Seppi Browning, Georgia HIMSS, she put together this new foundation to help with workforce development and education in health IT. So Seppi Browning, she's fantastic. HIMSS Georgia chapter, they're always great partners and supporters of my radio show. Great people. So look up Bright Hour Foundation and give her some love and support. And certainly a big thank you to Hal Wolf, Albie Zakes, Morgan Searles, the entire HIMSS team. They're always extremely supportive in the events and broadcasting requirements that I have. And again, thank you so much to all my listeners. We're grateful for you. You make us better with every broadcast. And that's a wrap from Las Vegas. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.